of broadcasters and this station.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9. The Fan.
30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. It's the George Plaster Show, featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famers Kelly Holcomb and young gun Willy Daunic. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. Billy, I'm not hearing anything, so I don't know. Nothing's coming through. But anyway, we welcome all of you in on this Monday that is rainy. Just like the weekend, it's been kind of yucky. And that's where we are right now, as we welcome all of you in to our digs at the Fordyce Center in Bellevue. I am guessing at the moment that I probably can't go to Kelly or Billy at this point because I'm not hearing anything, but we'll hopefully get this adjusted in a minute. Let's try that. Okay, that works. You need this one? Okay, we'll get it here in a minute. Okay, let's get it started in Murfreesboro and say hello to Kelly Holcomb. Kelly, how are you?
I'm great, George. How you doing?
Good. Are you as sick of the rain as I am?
I always say that I'm not really sick of the rain because when it becomes August and September, it won't rain for 3 months, 2 months.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy. So I know that this time of the year is kind of crazy, but then it doesn't rain for months here, so I'm good with it.
Be like the Sahara Desert.
Right? That's what it becomes.
So what did you watch this weekend in sports?
I watched a little bit. Well, you know I'm watching golf. I watched Scotty Scheffler just lap the field, which is unbelievable to me. It's just shocking what that guy. Yeah, it's shocking what that guy can do with that little bitty ball and that club in his hand. It's kind of crazy. And then I watched the playoffs, the basketball playoffs. Kind of crazy.
So there was a bunch of stuff over the weekend that was hard to believe. First of all, Saturday, the Dallas Stars just snatched victory from what looked like certain defeat against Colorado. Scored 4 goals in about a 10-minute period of time. They move on, and Colorado is out. Yesterday, Vandy down 7-2 in the bottom of the 8th inning, scores 7 runs in the last inning and a half.
Oh,
Beats
wow.
Alabama 9-7. Crazy ending over at the Hawk.
That's nice. How did the series end up? Did
2-1
Vandy win the
Vandy.
series? Okay, nice. There you go.
And this feels like it is really solidified that they're going to host one of the regionals at the beginning. Now they're kind of they're still, I mean, it's still up in the air, but they now have a real shot to be one of the 8 schools that automatically could host a regional and then a super regional if they're able to get out of the regional alive. So it was a big win yesterday. Then last night, St. Louis has got Winnipeg dead and buried. I mean, absolutely buried. And with 0.7 seconds left, Winnipeg scores to force OT, wins it in double OT.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Didn't
And
see
if
that.
that's not enough, the 7 seed Golden State blitzed the 2 seed, the Houston Rockets.
Yeah, that was the Rockets and the Clippers. Like the Clippers gagged it. I don't understand how you get into game 7 and you show that. I understand you're not making shots and stuff like that, but like you got to fight through it. But like they just gave up. And then same thing with Houston, man. They, of course, you're playing against a team that's got a pedigree of winning championships. They're experienced. They brought in Jimmy Butler, which I just listening to Steph Curry after the game, like he said we were, the reporter asked him what has Jimmy Butler meant to this team, and he said, well, we were in 10th place before he got here. So I think it kind of speaks for itself what he's meant to our team.
This is ugly, may not be fair. You kind of said, what do I think on the Clippers?
Yeah.
2 words. James Harden. What's the common denominator?
James
No
Harden.
teams that he's on ever really get there.
Yeah, the ball. We talked about it before with him. The ball. He's a really good basketball player. There's no question about that. But the ball gets stuck. I mean, it gets stuck with him. And Kawhi Leonard is
what a stud.
I don't know. He's getting older now. But like that dude can still play basketball. But he's not very vocal about stuff. And I don't know what he does in the locker room. But like, if I'm him, I'm telling James Harden, dude, give the ball up. I don't I don't like basketball like that. Jalen Brunson's the same way, and with the Knicks, I don't know how that's gonna go over in the next series. But I wish basketball could be back in the day where the Boston Celtics or the LA Lakers when Magic used to dish that ball. You just don't see that much anymore.
Hello, Billy.
Hello. I think we got the mic sorted out, so it should be good.
What do we think happened?
I don't know. It's been a little iffy as of late. Got some gremlins creeping in or something. I don't know.
Hey George, did Billy get in early enough to fix the problem?
It's pretty good recovery.
I don't think I can go there.
We don't know. I mean, by this time we usually hop on. Mics are fine, so we didn't test today. But that's not a normal thing. Maybe it should be.
Okay, so what did you do this weekend?
Well, watched Vandy. I actually played some indoor golf.
Indoor golf
over at X Golf.
Okay.
Yeah, and played okay.
Okay.
But it's crazy how accurate it is. Like the shot, like you'd be on the tee, and I'm like, oh, I feel like I shanked that, and lo and behold, it was a shank.
You did.
It's pretty. Putting's hard though. You got to go up, and you've been there at X Golf. You got to go up and over some.
Mm-hmm.
The putting's tough, but
don't really enjoy that part. Give me straight or downhill.
Yeah, but that Vandy game you talked about was nuts.
It was crazy.
I gave up. It was 7-2. Another series. Well, not another series loss, but that was going to be a tough series loss for them. But slowly but surely they come back. Braden Holcomb had a triple, a home run in the 8th, and then a walk-off to dead center to win it. And that was huge for them. So we'll get into a little bit of that. Got a big series in Knoxville this weekend between Vandy and Tennessee. We'll talk a little bit about that. But an update is all brought to you by Lori Burnett Leland. You can find her online at mortgageladyyusa.com or give her a call, 615-969-4350. I missed the Derby. I just missed it. It's only a 2-minute race, but I just missed it. Sovereignty wins the 151st Kentucky Derby, who closed at 7-1 odds. So the favorite was journalism.
Yep.
So journalism loses yet again. No.
But if you had, let's make up a number, 5 to win, 5 to place on journalism, you made money because journalism, what it paid out in the place category was surprisingly good.
Did you play?
I know.
I was just going to ask. So the Derby is over. We're going to hear from Barry Trotz later this hour. He has confirmed that head coach Andrew Burnett will return for next season, which we thought was happening. Earlier today, he said Andrew Burnett is going to be our coach. He's a good young coach. That was heavily repeated today. But tonight, they will find out their fate for the number 1 overall pick in the draft lottery. They've got the 3rd best odds to earn the top pick and can pick anywhere across the top 5 depending on the results.
Andrew Burnett should kiss Barry Trotz's butt once a day and twice on Sunday because there is absolutely nothing he did this year that warrants his return.
It's hard to argue.
That's tough.
All right,
but the season they had was tough too, you know.
Ooh, was it ever?
All right, we touched on it there. Vandy, after the series win over Alabama, they're ranked ahead of Tennessee in the latest D1 baseball poll ahead of this weekend's series in Knoxville. They moved up a few spots after winning the series over Alabama. Tennessee dropped a few spots after a home series loss to Auburn. The Vols have lost 3 of their last 4 series, and they've lost 3 of those series have been at home, which is not the norm for Vitello's program. In the top 25, Vandy's at number 11, Tennessee at number 15. Vandy's lost the last 3 to the Vols and is 2-10 against them overall since 2022. This would be another big series win if they can get it.
They cannot get swept in Knoxville.
No.
Period.
And before that, they got to play Louisville on Tuesday. In
Louisville, best as I can tell, is a 2 seed. Everybody's got them in the second hole wherever they end up, and a lot of people have them rumored to end up here.
Yes, which would be tough.
Who knows?
But maybe the biggest news of the day or over the weekend, it was released today, but John Gruden is back in football as a partner with the Nashville Cats in the Arena Football One League. He joins Jeff Fisher's ownership group, Fisher Football Ventures. Fisher made the announcement today, introducing Gruden as a franchise partner. He'll do a lot. I mean, business operations, football operations, but that's nothing small for the Cats. You wonder what kind of an impact he makes.
Well, God knows it's not the first time he's been placed in football in this state.
Whether it was real or fake.
My God.
The groomers.
Remember all those rumors?
Those were ridiculous.
Yeah, it got crazy.
And speaking of the NFL, in a news conference at the White House today, President Trump announced that Washington, D.C. will host the 2027 NFL Draft. It's in Pittsburgh next year, but in 27 it'll be in D.C. He expects, Roger Goodell, that is, expects more than 1 million visitors to attend that draft. And here's a look, if you're watching on podcast.
Oh, wow.
What it's going to look like. I think that would knock it out of the park in terms of the draft views there behind the stage. I know Nashville was pretty cool with the honky tonks, but that's going to be cool in DC.
That's a bunch.
It'll be on the National Mall, as you can see, where the Washington Monument stands. So pretty cool there in DC, and all of a sudden things are looking up in the nation's capital when it comes to football.
2 words: Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels Stadium.
Why not? Why not?
In college football, Michigan head coach Sharon Moore is expected to be suspended for 2 games this season as part of self-imposed sanctions by the university for the Connor Stallions scouting scandal. The suspensions will be held for week 3. I don't know why they're being held week 3 and 4, what that's about, but week 3 and 4 against Central Michigan and Nebraska for Sharon Moore.
So what is that exactly that they're saying?
Yeah, and why are we still rehashing this? Like, he had nothing. I wouldn't think he had anything to do with it.
Yeah, well,
now remember,
he
was an assistant at the time.
I know he was an assistant, but still, I mean, was he the one that, like, why are we still rehashing this? I thought this was put to bed. Obviously not.
In a related note, the news did reach the West Coast earlier today. And I'm sure Jim Harbaugh read that little story very closely. Very closely.
So Moore's suspension ties back to allegations that he deleted a thread of 52 text messages with Stallions. So that's what you got there.
I think that belongs in the category of, at this point, who cares?
Yeah, I'm with Kelly. I don't know why this is still being resurfaced.
Can't answer that.
But
justice at times can be slow.
Yes.
Where is old Connor Stallions?
That's a good question. He was coaching high school ball in Detroit last time I checked. That's a good question. I would think he's still there unless he's gotten a new job in the scouting department somewhere.
And is the mustache his, or is it a fake? Wow. What a crazy story.
I don't think we'll ever see anything like that again.
I don't know about that.
Happens all the time, though. He just got caught.
He did get caught.
Because the Buckeyes probably turned him in, and the Buckeyes were probably doing it way worse than they were.
Yeah. Some tough baseball news for Blue Jays fans. They have shifted Max Scherzer to the 60-day IL with a thumb injury.
Yeah.
He's 40 years old. He hasn't pitched since late March, which was his Blue Jays debut. And that's tough for them. And we talked about that when they signed him, I think, that he's getting older. He's injury prone. Yeah.
It was a gamble. But if you see their pitching staff, you can understand why they would do that.
Why they gambled.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the Braves got salvaged the series last night.
Thank goodness.
Thought they were going to get swept there for a second.
They are getting help in their pitching staff from two people I would not have counted on. Bryce Elder, who a year ago got shelled and sent back to the minors, and Grant Holmes, who a year ago at this time I had never heard of.
They're hanging in.
They're hanging.
Who's the Braves shortstop?
Nick Allen.
Somebody texted me this the other day saying he looks like Smalls from Sandlot.
He does.
Oh, that's terrible, because I watched his at bat last night. That's messed up.
So are we done with the update?
We are.
Okay. After the break, Mark McGee will join us to talk about what's going on with the Predators. At 4:00, Willy Daunic will join us, and we'll kind of get his take as well, because there's a lot to sort out there. This is 94.9, The Fan.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
At Wilson Bank & Trust, we believe you shouldn't have to choose between personal service and digital solutions. As your local independent bank, we're proud to offer the relationships and trusted service you expect, along with the tools and technology that keep you moving forward. So whether you're growing a business, buying a home, or planning for the future, we're here to help. Because this isn't just where we work, it's where we live too. Wilson Bank & Trust, here to get you there. Member FDIC.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com. 4,000 trailers and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
Looking for your favorite sports?
How about sports? You follow sports?
We probably have it. Just log on to the Information Superhighway. Oh, they don't call it that anymore?
To start, press any key. Where's the any key?
Head to theGameNashville.com.
The password we're in.
You'll find what time your game starts and what station it's on.
Oh, they have the internet on computers now.
That's what's up. Your sports live here.
What an age we live in.
On the Game Nashville Sports Network.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Earlier today, Barry Trotz confirmed what we have all suspected for a while, and that is that Andrew Burnett will be coming back, and at least for now, so will all of his coaching staff. Before I bring Mark McGee up, I want to make one thing really clear. I really want Barry Trotz to succeed. This is a really good man. Having covered him all those years, it's hard not to respect him. But I will openly admit right now that I don't totally get what's going on. Let's have Mark McGee join us to talk about it. Gee, I made the comment earlier, if I'm Andrew Burnett, I am kissing Barry Trotz's butt on a daily basis and twice on Sunday, because I don't see what he has done to earn the ability to come back.
I agree. He, I think he lost his team. Barry mentioned something during the conference about, players adjusting to the system and meeting it halfway. I don't know. I don't think we saw that during the season. But the players have to believe in the system. I don't think that they were believing in Andrew Burnett, especially some of the veteran players did not believe in what he was doing. And so he's got to get that turned around somehow this summer, get these guys mentally ready for the fall. I imagine Andrew's on a really short leash, though, right now. I mean, he is back, but I don't know that I think if he has a slow start this coming season, this coming fall, he won't be around long.
So, Guy, I asked Barry Trotz.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I asked Barry Trotz that question. I said, okay, when you informed him that he'd be coming back, I said it'd be human nature to believe that he said, okay, what does that really mean? What kind of leash do I have? And I asked Barry, what was your answer? And he completely dodged the question. He didn't come anywhere close to answering it.
That pretty much means that he is on a short leash. I would think so. I mean, that's all he has to be. You cannot commit to another full season like you had this season. So if things start going south early, you got to do something. Barry said, it's easy to change us, to change a coach like that. Hope to get a bump for a brief bump or whatever. But right now they just, I think you've got to make sure that what Andrew Burnett is preaching is the players are listening to. It's kind of strange because, this is a guy that was one season away from being runner-up for the Jack Adams Trophy as a top coach in the NHL. And this year he couldn't, he's got the third worst record in the league. So, there's some real problems there, I think, other than just coaching situation right now. we talked about some player problems in the locker room, that type of thing. But also, Barry is a great guy. He's the best person I've ever dealt with in sports, bar none. But no, Barry's kind of on the hot seat too a little bit. I mean, if he doesn't know, a lot of people question some of the trades he made, especially with Pittsburgh around the trade deadline, and a lot of people are still questioning those trades and how Pittsburgh handled them, what they did, and so a lot of people, Barry may be on the hot seat a little bit himself, as not quite like Andrew, but Barry's got to have a performance of some sort himself from his leadership position.
So, Guy, he in the press conference talked about Andrew Burnett being a very good communicator, which I don't buy. And example number one would be Jonathan Marchessault, who admitted in his at the end of the year deal that he can be a pain in the butt. But, you got 82 games in a season with a team. And if there were problems between Marchessault and Burnett philosophically, why weren't those hashed out before they ever got to the media at the end?
And why wasn't? And nobody ever mentioned that about Marchessault when he was signed. They could be a problem in the locker room, or they could be difficult to deal with. I never heard anybody talk about that. As far as you better watch him, he's a great player and everything, but you better watch what he does in the locker room, whatever. How he handles himself, but we never heard that going in. But the season got to be a problem. It got worse as the season went along. I'm like you. Why did it take so long for it to come out that there was a problem?
Okay, let me ask this one. Barry in the press conference today talked an awful lot about the good young talent, that the kind of the pipeline of either what is in Milwaukee or what got called up here. And as I sat there and listened to it, yeah, it sounds good, but I haven't seen anybody yet that I could say, okay, this is a guy that will ultimately be a difference maker. I don't see any of those.
And you're not going to find it in the draft this year either. There's a chance they could be the number one pick. Worst they could do is number 3, but this is not a draft that you want to have 3 first-round draft picks like they've got, because in some ways it's much like the NFL draft as it was this year. It's not very exciting. There's no Connor Bedard generational type player sitting there for you. There's a really good defenseman, Matthew Schaefer from Erie, and there's a really good center, Michael Misa from Saginaw. And those are probably the 1-2 guys, according to who picks first. They'll be the 1-2 picks probably. And neither one, both are good players, but that they're not difference makers. They're not going to come in like a Bedard or whatever and make an impact as a rookie. And that's what the Predators need from the number 1 pick right now, or a top 3 or 4 pick. I don't see that happening right at this point, and I don't think a lot of people really feel like this draft is all that strong. So I think what's going to happen is somebody like Colton Sissons or Lazon gets traded, and for hopefully a good second line center. I don't think they're going to go overboard like they did this past year with Stamkos and Marchessault, but I think there's a guy like Carolina center Jack Roslovic, who's a perfect fit for him. He'd be a great number 2 center, and I think they could go after somebody like that. And they got $17 million in cap space to play with right now, so that's a pretty good amount. So it'll be interesting to see what they do from that standpoint. Or do they trade with San Jose to get if San Jose gets the number 1 pick, which they have right now, the odds are with them to win the draft lottery, which is tonight, 6 o'clock on ESPN. So they got a chance to, if the Sharks get number 1, the Predators are 2 or 3, do they trade up with the Sharks? Maybe trade Luke Evangelista to the Sharks. He's a nice young talent. It's going to be interesting to see what happens tonight, how the Predators maneuver this.
So, Mark, he's doubled down on Burnett, and admittedly, that's not going to play well with the Preds audience who watched this disaster a year ago. And when I say a year ago, they were, for all intents and purposes, eliminated by Thanksgiving. So Barry's doubled down on Brunette. And if this fails, then when does the heat start to come on Barry?
So I'm saying I think that Barry's as susceptible to the heat as Andrew Brunette is, because Barry's not only hired Brunette and staying with him, but also like I said, he's made a couple of trades that a lot of people question, especially the ones he made at Pittsburgh for like Michael Bunting and a couple of other players they got for draft picks and things, because Pittsburgh turned around and traded most of those guys to other teams for more assets themselves. And a lot of people wonder what Barry was thinking about with those moves. And so I think, I think Barry's wanting to make his team as strong as possible. But he thought he made the right moves over the summer, but this past summer, but that didn't happen. It just didn't translate for whatever reason. Things were a disaster. But I think nobody's really come up with exactly the answer for that. I mean, nobody's really saying, well, this is why it went the way it went. And but yeah, Ed Brunette must have some cachet as a coach, because he just got signed today as an assistant coach for Team Canada in the World Championships coming up. So so he's obviously, people think he's got talent as a coach to be working with that, and I think they'll give him a chance to get a few more games under his belt as a coach, as an assistant, to help him maybe find some answers and talk to some people about some different directions to go in. So I think what really got me was the fact that they had the second worst number of goals in the NHL last year, and only San Jose was worse. And this was Andrew Brunette's a coach known for being an offensive expert. That's what really surprised me more than anything.
Mark McGee is with us talking about what went on earlier today. Kelly, what do you got for him?
So I think you kind of answered this earlier. I'm not sure, but Guy, in your opinion, does Andrew Brunette still have the locker room? Because that's a huge deal in professional sports, and I can remember being in locker rooms where, when you get a young coach or you get a new coach, everybody's willing to buy in for the first year, the first maybe 2 years, but then after that, do you think he still has the locker room? Because sometimes that stuff starts falling on deaf ears when you keep talking about the same stuff and then you're not getting anything out of your team. Does he still have those guys?
Well, I mean, I don't think so. I think that he's lost a lot of those players, especially the veteran players. I think he's lost their ear for sure from that standpoint. It's kind of like a situation like Peter Laviolette, who just got fired for the Rangers, who was a Predators coach. Laviolette's known for being to come in and really doing a great job with the team for a couple of years. And after that, things kind of fall off. Maybe Andrew Brunette's fallen in the same type of situation where a year or two with the team and the things change as far as the way teams listen or teams respond. I don't know for sure, but Brunette is obviously going to have to find some way to gain back the confidence of these players and have them believe in what he's trying to do. Do they alter the system? Maybe so. Maybe he has to look at the system and say, it just didn't work. And Barry was talking about players have to meet him halfway as far as the system goes and adjust their own games to the system that Brunette showed them and Brunette's trying to sell. But I don't know if that necessarily works, because some players don't have the skills to adjust to certain types of systems. Some players are better with other systems than they are with others. So, I think you have to kind of look at your team and think, okay, this is what we need to do. And this is not working right now. One thing with Andrew was his inconsistency he didn't show a lot of confidence in himself. He switched lines constantly all through the season. And there was no way to get any consistency with his players offensively, because he was always switching lines around. And I think players look at that and think, well, he's not very confident in what he's doing. So I think he's got to show players that he's confident in the decisions he's making, and make them believe what he's trying to do is right.
Guy, answer me this. Do you think that with the way that things are in the organization, do you think you can get free agents here? I mean, I know they signed a lot of guys last year and they had many years, they signed them for a couple of years, but do you think in free agency that you can bring guys in?
Oh yeah. They love Nashville. Why wouldn't you? I mean, it's just, it's a great place to be. It's a great place to be, and there's no income tax, and and the city of Nashville itself is an attraction. Yeah, I think I don't think it's a problem bringing free agents in here. I don't think that's not going to be a problem. And I think that people see the fan base here. Players recognize how strong the fan base here. Even though the team was not good this year, the fan base pretty much stayed with them to a large extent. It's a loud place to play. And so I think there's still an attraction there from free agency.
Guy, last question for you. So tonight we find out exactly where they draft. In your opinion, who is the best, quickest difference maker in the draft when it ends up happening in June?
Well, like I said, there's only two that really jump out at you. Matthew Schaefer, a defenseman from Erie, and then Michael Misa, center from Saginaw. He's a playmaking center. Predators could use one, and defensively, the team is not quite as strong as it used to be, and they could use a good defenseman. Or both of these guys, difference makers, generational players? No, they're not a Connor Bedard. They're not Connor Bedard. They're good players, and they probably can make a difference, but they're not. I don't know how much quick impact they make. They got 3 first-round picks, 2 in the lower rounds, the lower part of the first round, and so they're 2 in the second round. I think a couple in the 6th round, at least. So they've got a lot of draft capital that they could trade and move around for veteran players. It could be an interesting draft as well from a trade standpoint. So we'll have to see what happens there. So like I said, these two guys are good players of what they bring in. They bring in good reputations from junior hockey, but I don't know that they're guys that can walk in and make a big difference right at the beginning. And sometimes Barry really doesn't like doing that with younger players.
Yeah,
so we'll see what happens there.
Guy, thank you for taking the time to come on today. I'm sorry. Can you say that again?
So those are the two that people mention the most. Those are the two players, Schaefer and Misa. They're the ones that people mention the most as far as the top 2 players. After that, throw them all in the basket.
Guy, appreciate it as always.
Glad to do it. Thank you, guys.
Mark McGee joining us to talk a little bit of Predators. We're going to let you hear one little snippet after the break of what went on earlier today. And by the way, I cannot believe this. Billy, turn around and look outside. That is called sunshine.
I haven't seen that in a week and a half.
It's out, though, here in Bellevue. We're back after this on 94.9 The Fan.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2025 season. Create a summer of memories at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, and more. Tickets are on sale now.
This is my buddy Stan Harrison from Apple Collision Centers. Recently, you've been talking to me about companies that have a fleet of trucks and they're always in need of repairs.
That's right, George. We understand that nobody likes to deal with the auto body repair process. We try to simplify that at our 3 convenient locations. We work with all major insurance companies. We help to ease the stress of the auto body repair process. We're located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. If you need our services, please stop by and see us.
And how convenient that we have that in the background. Now, seriously, these are good folks. They do really good work. Give them a holler.
Flat Rock Motor Club is a members-only driving resort combining a world-class racetrack with exquisite amenities. Located on 800 acres of pristine countryside in the heart of Tennessee, their elite 3.5-mile club track is surrounded by sweeping views of manicured rolling hills. The charm of Tennessee can be felt with every hill you climb. Whether your beverage of choice is sweet tea or whiskey, at their premier driving resort, you will experience a sophisticated blend of country elegance and southern hospitality. For more information, log on to flatrockmotorclub.com.
Attention sports fans. The Middle Tennessee Sports Spectacular and Collectibles Expo is set for Friday, May the 16th through Sunday the 18th at the Farm Bureau Expo Center in Lebanon. Former Titans Javon Kearse, Albert Hainsworth, and Joey Kent will all be there, and we'll broadcast our show on Friday the 16th. Parking is free, admission is $10, and I can't wait to meet all of you in Lebanon. Two total screw-ups of humongous proportions.
Sports. We're not living in an era where perfection is necessary.
They thought they were a championship contending team.
Here. We told you not to do this.
Your sports live here. On ESPN 94.9. The Fan.
And the Game Nashville Sports Network.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Oh, that's going to when I was in high school. That's how far back that's going.
The Dark Ages.
No, those were good times.
What administration?
Willard Fillmore. How many of your friends have first name Willard? Not many.
None.
Okay. So going into the press conference today, Barry Trotz had to know that there would be people asking about Andrew Brunette. Why? Why are you retaining him? Because there's a lot in year one to give Andrew Brunette credit for. There's nothing in year two. It was a miserable team at the beginning. It was a miserable team at the end. They quit on him on 2 or 3 different occasions. I'm totally with Guy that the veterans completely tuned him out. So questions about Andrew should have been expected. Then you kind of have the double down at the end of the season as the players are going out the door that several voiced concerns about coaching, none louder than Jonathan Marchessault. And so I want you to hear what I asked Barry. And although I got a lot of respect for him, he played a total game of dodgeball. When you told Andrew he was coming back, I'm going to guess that he said, okay, level with me. What kind of leash am I on? And by the way, I'm going to cheat. I got a second question.
Go ahead.
Yeah. The second one is 82 games season. Why did Marchessault feel the need to tell us what he should have been telling Andrew? And if there is great communications, then why hadn't that got settled?
Well, your first question, I talked to, we're going to have to go to one because I'll forget the second question all the time. With Andrew, I was not only Andrew, but all our coaches, what I felt that they needed to, reconnect and get everything in the right order, if you will. Sometimes it gets out of order. Your second question, I have no idea. I know they did talk. That wasn't Andrew's a really good communicator with all that. Why Marchie said it in public, you have to ask him, because I can't answer a question that I didn't give. So I can't really answer that, but I know they did communicate that, and sometimes you say things that you just gets out and you guys jump on it and it goes crazy. So.
Okay. So Kelly, I guess what I was looking to hear was, George, we're in a production business, and if you don't win, you have to understand that time is limited. And it may well be that Kelly's not with us for a minute. I know he's dealing with an issue off air. Billy, I guess deep down what I expected him to say was, look, he knows what my expectations are, that this has got to get a lot better, and it's got to get a lot better quick. And if it doesn't, I'm not going to have any choice.
Yeah, to me, that answer sounded like he's well aware of your question, and he probably could have said more, but decided not to. Didn't want to put gasoline on the fire. That's how I read it, because he knows more than what he knows more than what he said there.
As a coach, though, and all this stuff's kind of circling around you, like, you've got to get some for sure's when you meet with Barry Trotz. Like, what do you want? Like, what is it? Like, everybody keeps saying, well, he's on a short leash. Well, as a coach, can you coach on a short leash? That's kind of tough to do. So I just don't, I don't buy into that. Like, I think he may be a good young coach, maybe, but like, he's got a bunch of older guys that didn't work this year, and they put a lot of years and a lot of money into these guys that were scorers, and it just didn't happen. And then you listen to Steven Stamkos on here, who's been around the league for a while, and he's talking about how, this is unlike anything I've ever been in offensively, the style of play that we do. I don't know. There's a lot of questions. And I was thinking about this today, guys. We were all fired up last year with where the Predators were headed. And I was too, because I'm not even a hockey guy, but just seeing what they did last year and all the consecutive games and all the consecutive points that they ran off. And then you come back this year and you think you've reloaded with a better group of guys, and it totally bombed. I just don't know where you go.
I don't either. It kind of felt like what I was hearing was, we're going to go with the same people and the same stuff we did a year ago. Now, he does say in the press conference, this is likely going to be a busy trade season, because it's not the kind of free agency market that you would hope it might be if you're in this situation. So they're probably going to do some trading. I don't know what it is they have to trade that will get them the significant haul. Do I think Andrew Burnett is a great communicator? Absolutely not. If he's a great communicator, the number of players who voiced their concerns at the end of the season, it wouldn't have happened. So, first of all, Marchessault, if you went through the people that cover the Preds on a daily basis and you said, what player is the most likely to pop off, Jonathan Marchessault would have been at the head of the class. So there was not as much surprise about that. But there is surprise that a bunch of others said things as well. And that's the part where I'm like, if you're that good a communicator, then why are there that many questions 82 games in? And also, let me say this. They were awful at the beginning. They had one 5-game winning streak, which was the highlight of the year, immediately followed by a 5-game losing streak. And the fact of it is, they weren't worth a damn all year. They didn't get one bit better. And to me, that's bad.
If Marcia So was the one that came out and said that, do you think if he wouldn't have said that, would anybody else have come out and said that? Like, it's easier in a group than it is to stand alone by yourself. So, do you think that he would have, if he don't say anything, anybody else says anything, and we don't know this is going on?
Well, here's what I don't know. The fact that he's the one that said it, does that mean he's wrong? I mean, I've been at some radio stations over the years, Kelly, where people would have said George is the most likely to pop off. But I only popped off when I thought I was right.
Right.
And when I felt like, okay, I've been around this business a few years. This is not my first rodeo. Marcia So probably felt the same way. And if I could ask the question again, here's what I might ask. Is what Marcia So is saying true?
That's a good point. That was a good answer, George. That was a good answer, because you always have somebody, and a lot of times
the answer
guys
was
think
great.
something. Yeah, a lot of guys think something and they want to say something, but if nobody else is going to say it, they're not going to say it either, because they don't want to be on an island by themselves. So, when you get into these professional locker rooms, everything is mostly political. I think the NHL may be a little different, but when you get in the NBA and the NFL and baseball, they're going to toe the company line. I promise
you. Here's where this gets tricky, guys. The NHL is different than the NFL in that their total lifeblood is ticket sales, and in particular, season ticket sales. And I think what went on this year, I don't have any numbers to go with it, but there's no way that I believe that they got the rate of reinvestment, season ticket renewals that they'd been getting. There was nothing about this year that was positive. And if there's a second year of this, not only is Andrew Burnett not going to be here, but we're going to be talking about Barry Trotz's long-term survival. And I know personally, I'm not going to enjoy that. I've got a lot of respect for him. There's probably nobody in sports that I am rooting for harder than Barry Trotz. But I got to admit, at the press conference today, it didn't make a lot of sense to me.
If they would have made the announcement a week ago or so that Andrew Burnett would not be retained, how different would the dialogue be right now?
You mean if they had made an announcement that there's a change?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think it would be Barry saying, look, what went on a year ago is unacceptable. And look, I don't doubt that he feels like last year was unacceptable, but he gave me a much rosier picture about the Predators than I believe exists. And God knows I hope I'm wrong, because as I watch these other teams in the playoffs, man, I wish we were there. You know, playoff hockey's pretty dadgum special.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of fun in the name of playoff hockey over the years, acting like a total moron in 30401. And I miss it. You know, I watched last night, those people in Winnipeg, man, you don't think they didn't have a great time? Whew.
That was unreal.
They sweated bullets, I'll say that. But they had a great time.
Playoffs are something different, man. In every league, when you have a chance, when you're one of the teams that has a chance to win it all, the focus goes up, intensity goes up, the crowd's intensity goes up. That's what you play for. You play during the year to get yourself in a position just to have a chance. And, you know, they weren't very good last year. And even I know that. And I'm not even the hockey guru like you are, George.
So real quickly, before we end the hour, I want to thank Brent Williams, who sent us this piece of info. Connor Stallions is right now the defensive coordinator for Mumford High School in Detroit. Really don't know how he's done, but I will say this. For the schools that play Mumford, I'd be real careful on how you do signals and this and that.
And the people at the gate.
Quit hating, George. Hey, if you can always get an advantage, you got to go for that advantage now.
Hey, he might be wearing.
Go ahead, Billy.
He might be wearing your team's gear one night.
You never know. Yeah. He certainly enjoyed Central Michigan stuff. Okay, stat of the day, and then Willy Daunic will join us to start our clock hour. This is 94.9 The Fan.
Hey, this is Andrew Allegra, voice of Vanderbilt baseball. Hope you can join us this weekend, a mega matchup from Knoxville. The Vandy boys, ranked number 11 versus the Vols. Our coverage on Friday starts at 4:15. All 3 games on 102.5 The Game.
Vanderbilt Athletics lives here on the Game Nashville Sports Network.
This Mother's Day, give her something that makes life a little easier and her favorite moments even better. Whether she's the family chef, the go-to host, or the queen of cozy movie nights, you'll find a gift she'll love at Electronic Express, from small appliances for quick weeknight meals, to outdoor essentials for effortless entertaining, to smart TVs for the ultimate binge watch session. We've got that. Shop Mother's Day gifts that turn moments into memories, in store or at electronicexpress.com.
If you're looking for fun for the family, look no further than Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. The bowling is a blast. The people around it make it even better. And you know what? They've got a staff that will make sure you have a good time. So don't wait. Go have some bowling fun at Strike and Spare, the official home of the 4th annual Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night.
Evan Canty and Michelle are unsportsmanlike.
I think what we learned as we watched round after round get completed and Shedeur Sanders' name not be called is that his father's influence and those bad interviews that he allegedly had carried a lot of weight. And that when these teams were deciding whether or not Shedeur Sanders was a good fit for them, those outside influences were hugely impactful.
Evan Canty and Michelle are unsportsmanlike.
I don't know what's going on with the Aaron Rodgers saga and when we're going to actually find out. But if you're Pittsburgh, you got to be getting a little squirrely there in terms of your quarterback room, not having a guy that you have proof of concept can win in this league at a high level.
Unsportsmanlike. Weekday morning starting at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN2. This is Joe and Q.
My mom and dad worked at BART, train system in the Bay Area. Mama Q found me a way to get in there and get an interview. I walked in there, I thought I was Shedeur Sanders. Mama Q's got a great reputation. Pops has got a great reputation. All I got to do is show up and get the job. Mama Q said, hey, what happened to my son in his interview? And they said, well, how much time do you have? I don't know this. I was not in these meetings with Shedeur, but that's the kind of feeling that I get.
Joe and Q, weekdays from noon to 3 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app. Earlier on Clinton and Friends.
LeBron Raymond James has lost a step. LeBron Raymond James losing a step is still better than 75% of the players in the NBA. But when the meanest man on the court knows that, and Anthony Edwards, and is literally going after him in a physical manner, this is different. He's 40 years old.
Clinton and Friends, weekdays from 10 to noon Eastern on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app.
If you are paying too much for your health insurance, you know what? You need to contact the folks at Pancoast Benefits. Pancoast works with businesses and individuals to tackle the high cost of health insurance. Whether you're a business owner, large or small, self-employed, between jobs, or over the age of 65 and in need of a Medicare plan, Pancoast can help. They make understanding your benefits less difficult and more personal. So check them out today, pancoastbenefits.com, or call them at 615-292-3400.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. All around the world on the Game Nashville app. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9 The Fan. A Cromwell media station.
It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
We're talking Preds with Willy Daunic coming up, but first, stat of the day brought to you by Apple Collision Centers. You can find them in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. Give them a call, 615-754-9800, or log on to their website. That's applecollisioncenters.com. All right, we are going a little NBA today. Tyronn Lue, he was 4-0 in Game 7s before yesterday's Game 7 loss to the Nuggets. Undefeated 4-0 in Game 7s. Which coach has the most Game 7 wins without a loss?
It's the guy with the Dallas Stars.
Is that
Peter
a joke?
DeBoer. He's 9-0 in Game 7s. Think about that. Because Game 7 are played, I think, a little differently. There's a little bit of play not to lose early that a team's got to get through, because the last thing you want to have happen is for you to do something dumb that allows the other team to get off to the great start that propels them to victory.
This could be NBA specific.
No.
Okay.
I'm well aware. I'm playing dodgeball.
Okay.
Because I don't think I know. Yeah. Because
Phil Jackson.
Well, Phil Jackson won a lot of Game 7s. And by the way, Ty, who put the question together, said, I mean NBA, my bad, George. Well, the truth of it is I knew that. I just can't think of the answer yet on the NBA level. So I brought up the Dallas Stars coach, who with the win couple of nights ago is 9-0, which means that he has won in Game 7 9 times. 9 times, Mrs. Bueller.
And never lost.
He is leading you down the primrose path. So am I. So in the NBA, let's think about this for a second. Phil Jackson has won some Game 7s. The Cleveland one over Craig Elo was a Game 5. I don't think it's Phil Jackson.
Well, would it be like Casey Jones, Red Auerbach, guys like that? Is it somebody back in the day, Billy?
I think you might be. You know what I say we do, Kelly? Let's dump the damn thing in Willie's lap.
I agree. Willie's smart, though. He'll probably get it.
He's supposed to be Mr. Trivia and have all that useless info that I used to have before I got too old. Let's bring Willy Daunic in. Willie, you see the question, I would assume, and good to have you join us.
Good to be with you guys.
Do you know the answer?
I don't think I don't know the answer. I can make an educated guess. I think you guys are probably on the right track. Peter DeBoer is the guy you're thinking of.
Yes.
George,
9 times.
9-0 in Game 7s. That's something. One of them was against the Predators. Back in 2016 when he was with the Sharks in a memorable series for sure. I think you got to go with Red Auerbach, right? Just because he coached forever.
Show us Red Auerbach.
Boom.
Boom. Nice.
Okay, that's
done.
The third time in a row that someone other than George and Kelly has gotten the stat of the day correct.
I said Red Auerbach, though. I said Casey Jones, Red Auerbach, or Phil Jackson. I did say the name, Billy, so just pipe down over there.
Yeah,
you just read the question.
Yeah, you just lighten up there, big boy.
I mean, there's a common denominator here.
Yeah, and the common denominator is maybe Willie ought to have your job, and we put you on the unemployment line. Willie, would that work for you?
Well, it did. It did for many years, I believe.
What was the most abuse for something dumb you did that you ever caught from me?
Oh, God.
Oh man, the most abuse.
What was the worst one?
Well, one that, just speaking of the NBA, remember we had to work on a Memorial Day one time?
Oh my God.
We came in and nobody was happy that we had to work on Memorial Day. And there was nobody in the office because we were 50 people working.
I know where this is going.
And I parked right next to, instead of parking in the parking lot, I parked right next to the studio door. And George thought I was being a little too, being a prima donna or something
Pompous,
like that.
a little too pompous.
Yeah, a little too pompous. And so he was in a foul mood because he had to work on Memorial Day.
Oh, I was
and he forced me to move my car to the parking lot, even though our two cars are like the only two cars in the whole lot. So
He wouldn't have forced me to do anything, Willie. I would have said, make me.
Nice.
Those are my two choices. Just move my car about 50 feet or make a big deal out of it. So I just decided to move my car.
Wasn't that the day that Richard brought his guitar?
Yeah. Yes. Our producer decided to pass the time, since nobody was going to be listening anyway, that he was just going to play some songs on the guitar. And
nice.
I don't think that went over very well either.
No.
Our director.
No. That was a tough time. Okay, we welcome all of you officially. Yes, Billy.
We've got some NFL news. Ravens have released kicker Justin Tucker after drafting Tyler Loop.
Oh.
You knew that was coming.
Yeah, and that tells me they may know some things.
Well,
the night of the draft, when they drafted him, I'm like, Justin Tucker's gone.
Yeah.
The organization continues to insist it is a football decision.
Whatever. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Football.
We're going in a different direction. I got that many times.
Yes.
Go in this different direction there, Hoss. How about that?
I've heard it a couple myself. Okay. So we welcome all of you into the 4:00 hour officially, even though it's 5 minutes late, from our digs at the Fordyce Center in Bellevue. Willy Daunic has spent the last how many years with Predator Television? How many is it?
First season of Predator Television was 2015-16. So
wow,
that was my 10th year, I guess, just completed of TV.
Was this the hardest?
Yes, I think it was. I think it was probably the toughest around the horn, I think, for everybody involved in the organization, just based on the expectation level. It was frustrating all fronts, and I think you heard that today with Barry Trotz and his press conference, which I know you were in attendance for.
Yeah, so it was a lengthy press conference. By anybody's standards, it was really long. Anything you take out of it that you were like, that's really interesting?
Well, I think everybody entered the press conference wondering officially, even though I think we sensed it in the days leading up, that if there was going to be a change, it would have probably seeped out in the Elliot Friedman circles or Pierre LeBrun or, the Adam Schefters of the NHL. They usually snuff this out. So I think people walked in with a sense that Andrew Burnett was going to remain the head coach. I think everybody was most interested in Barry Trotz's thought process of why he's decided to do that, because when you finish 30th, it's hard to walk back in there and say, we feel like we're going to bounce back. There won't be major changes. Nobody's taking a big fall for this. I think that's sort of what the book is sometimes. And that's what I think jumped out at me, George, is Barry Trotz was the first to say this is against the grain of what a lot of organizations do in sports. And he said sometimes, having been a coach, he feels for other coaches because he thinks management sometimes uses it as a crutch, that it's too easy sometimes just to fire the coach. So he wants a collective approach. He believes in Andrew Burnett as a young head coach. He was once a young head coach, Barry Trotz, that was appreciative that David Poile showed patience in him. And so that's why he justified bringing Andrew Burnett back for another year.
So Barry really did not quite go where I wanted him to with the whole, what kind of leash do you think he's on? Willie, this can't start the way it did this season, can it?
I think it's inevitable. And Kelly, you know this, right? When teams aren't successful or do not meet expectations, usually there are changes. And so this is against the grain of that. They got off to a poor start last year. And so I think when you consider that specific detail, I think if you go around the league and you ask Elliot Friedman or whoever you consider to be the Adam Schefters of the NHL, and you say, who are the coaches on the hot seat? I think Barry Trotz knew today when he came in and presented this that he knows that that will be the case. Everybody's going to be watching closely from the very start. Can Andrew Brunette get this? Basically, what we don't know for sure what changes are going to be, but I think they're going to be a lot of the same faces back next year. And that's going to be the question. Can you roll out the same group and get better results, especially from the outset? Because it was specifically the start that put them behind and they never caught up last year.
Okay, let me go to somebody else that you and I have covered for a long time, Willie. Several weeks ago when Vanderbilt got swept, and I want to say it was at Arkansas, but I could be wrong, social media really skewered Tim Corbin. And that one really bothered me because, number one, to me, he has earned the Lifetime Achievement Award to whatever problems he may end up having in Vanderbilt baseball. He has earned the right to fix. You win 2 national titles at that school, you're not some idiot. But I'm going to go the other way on this, Willie. As I look at this team right now with an everyday lineup that doesn't just, reek of the Los Angeles Dodgers, I think this is the best coaching job this man's ever done.
With Tim Corbin, I think he has definitely gotten through I don't know if he's gotten through. I think he is working his way through the new era of college sports. And I think he was forced to adapt. And I think that's probably a theme that Barry Trotz hit on today that I think would connect the two stories, Plaz, of two teams we follow very closely with Vanderbilt baseball and the Predators. I think Tim Corbin saw NIL when it first happened and really didn't want to change his formula. He loves maybe more than anything else besides winning, right? He loves the reward of bringing a kid out of high school, developing him for 3 years, maybe 4 years, and then turning him off into the world as either a really successful baseball player like the Sonny Grays and the David Prices and all those guys. He's got a million of them now. He loves going to their weddings. He loves continuing the relationship beyond when they're done playing. That's really rewarding. But in NIL, in this current speed dating deal of college sports, it's hard to preserve that. So he had to adapt, and I think he's adapting. And I think that's the thing with Barry Trotz and Andrew Brunette. I think what Barry Trotz said is, I felt like I had all the answers as a young coach. I had to learn how to adapt to get better as a coach. That's what he's counting on, I think, with Andrew Brunette, who had really had smooth sailing. He'd been a Jack Adams, the Coach of the Year award finalist, 2 years already out of what, 4 as a head coach? And now he really hits adversity for the first time. So Barry Trotz sees a coach that he thinks can be very successful. The question is, can he do it with this group? That there was a clear disconnect this last year.
Okay, and I get that, but Andrew Brunette is not quite the young coach that he's being made out to be. This is his 3rd coaching job.
Well, it's his 2nd head coaching job. He was
okay. He was an interim for the 3rd.
No, he was an interim for the Panthers. That was the first time he was a head coach. Then they didn't keep him. He went to New Jersey as the assistant coach.
You're right. Okay.
Under Lindy Ruff. Yeah. So he was a little under the radar, but he was credited a lot for a successful year, a very successful year for that franchise. And I think that upped his stock. And that's when Barry Trotz handpicked him, a guy who had played for Barry Trotz way back in the first year of the Predators, and it was a great story. And I do think that's another part of Barry Trotz, the loyalism, also of, hey, this is the guy I picked, right? I picked Andrew Brunette. I believe in this guy. To turn his back on him and move in another direction would probably not reflect well on Barry Trotz, because this was the guy he chose to run this team.
Okay. Now, what people don't know is for the next few weeks, Willie is going to be joining us on Mondays. So, Kelly, I wanted Willie to feel comfortable, although God knows after 23 years of putting up with me, he should be comfortable by now, right?
He knows what he's getting himself into.
Thank you. Exactly. But Billy, will you put the picture up that was the last one that I asked you to put up there? Yes. Carlos Mendoza and the Mets have a 6-game lead over my Atlanta Braves. Willie, we're not done yet.
No, I expect the Braves to be very much in the race. And I think the Mets are legitimately good. They're now, I think, hitting a little bump in the road for the first time with a couple of injuries here and there. But I think this is going to be a fun summer. I think we're going to enjoy these Mondays just to see how things are going. Carlos Mendoza is another example of a guy that the Mets last year, I think if you'd have polled Met fans, is this guy the guy on June 1st? I think there would have been a resounding, this guy can't do anything. Who is this guy? Let's get rid of him. And by the end of the year, he had helped turn the team around, and now he's on solid footing. So again, this is, I think, the Barry Trotz theme of let's let the guy work some of the problems out and not give the quick hook that so many other organizations do.
Kelly, say hello to Willie.
Willie, what's up? How you doing?
I'm doing well.
How's everything going, man? Good?
Yeah, not bad. Not bad. I've survived the first week of this so far.
I got you.
You're not out of it yet, Kelly.
So my question, and I asked Mark McGee this earlier, but my question is this, and I've been in these locker rooms before, and you're more involved, obviously, than we are, than Mark McGee, than everybody. Has he lost the locker room? Just being around it, like that's a big deal in professional sports. That's a big deal in any sport. Like when a coach loses a locker room, it's hard to get it back. And if you got the same guys coming back next year that you had on the team the year before, and I told George I was really excited, man. I'm just not getting into hockey. I've obviously had to learn about it. I went to some Buffalo Sabres games when I was in Buffalo playing up there, but it's a different deal when you bring these guys in, and the year before you had a bunch of young guys who had to play because some older guys got injured, and then they went on this winning streak, and those guys had the desire to play, and then you say, okay, we're heading in the right direction, so now we're going to bring in some experienced scorers and some guys like that. And then it seems like at the end of the year, people started talking in their exit meetings, and they brought it up to the media. So my question is, has he lost the locker room?
I think that is a central question that that a lot of people are wondering, and philosophically, I think when you say lost, does that mean that you can't get it back? But let's just say it didn't go smoothly. I think it's clear to say when you finished 30th in the standings, there were some issues. And George asked a question today about a particular player, Jonathan Marchessault, that there seemed to be a disconnect between player and coach. Marchessault being a player that had been very successful at his previous stop, playing a certain way. And I think you could take it down the road to Brady Shea and Steven Stamkos, who had been very successful in other atmospheres. And who do you put it on? Is it on the coach or the players to adapt? But I think that is going to be the question. I think some theorize that once you've lost it, it's hard to get it back. You might need, this is why so many coaches change addresses. Peter Laviolette, maybe the most successful coach the Predators have ever had based on results. I don't think there's any debate. He goes in there, he does his thing, and he has lost many locker rooms, and he goes to another place and has a lot of success. He's one of the winningest coaches of all time. So I think it does remain to be seen whether he can bring it back. I think what helps Andrew Brunette is that he was a player. he played at a lot of different places for a lot of different coaches. He's seen all the locker rooms. And I'm hoping that experience, I think that's, again, what Barry Trotz is banking on, will help him start over with this group next year. I also think Stamkos, Shea, and Marchessault, those three guys, now that they've had a whole year under their belt, they know they have a little bit better idea of how they're going to be used. I think they believe they can get those guys off to a better start. But I think it is the central question that everything's riding on.
Well, I was listening to something with Stamkos earlier, and he said, we've just got to make it work. But he was also talking about this is the most different offense that he's ever been in. And do you think Barry Trotz should have done a better job, or how does that work? Because I think you have to adapt to what your players do instead of your players trying to adapt to what you do. I can remember Tom Moore telling me when, he was with Chuck Noll a long time ago when they were coaching an all-star game, and, they were always talking about they're going to do this and do that. And then Chuck Noll heard from the outside, and he came in and he said, "What the hell are y'all talking about, guys? Like, you don't know what these kids can do. So how are you formulating an offense before you know what they can do?" Well, should he have done a better job of bringing guys in that kind of, fit the offense faster?
Well, Barry Trotz didn't get into specifics, but he did say that there are going to be adjustments in how they play. And I do think that was a center, without going into the weeds of what happened at the beginning of the year. And that is, I think some of these guys had played a certain way. Andrew Burnett's system is innovative, it's different, and it worked beyond anybody's wildest expectations the year before during the regular season. It all came together with that 16-0-2 run where they were just humming along. They were playing differently than a lot of teams. It was throwing teams off, and it was extremely effective for the Predators. It went the opposite direction this year, and you had guys who were saying, wait, that's not how we played over here or over here. We can't play that way. Barry Trotz said today that he wants to keep working with Andrew Burnett to put, quote, more tools in his toolbox as a coach. And I think the code for that would be adjust a little bit to this particular group of players and not be fixated on this is the way my teams play. And so that's the compromise that I think they've struck as they go into the challenge of how to play next year. Because it all starts with defending, in my mind. They didn't score a lot of goals, but the root of their problem, I think, was 5-on-5 cohesiveness, especially on the defensive end. They gave up way too many free goals, free offense. And I think if they can get that nailed down, they will score more goals.
Put this, George, am I still going? Put this in layman's terms. Like what do you mean by it's so innovative and it's so different than all the other schemes? Like Stamkos even said it. He's like, I've never played in anything like this. It's getting used to, and I can understand that. You can understand that now when you got some experienced guys coming in and they've never been involved in anything like this. So just put it in layman's terms for me. What makes this offense or this hockey club different, this system different than any others?
That's where we need a Hal Gill or a Chris Mason to help with that process. I'm not as good at that. I can tell you, generally speaking, that there's a lot of, and once again, this is the tough part for Andrew Burnett, because I think this is how he set himself apart from other coaches. Andrew Burnett loves watching other sports. He watches baseball. He watches basketball. He watches soccer. He thinks of interesting concepts. He watches football, and he basically says, how could I apply some of these? How do great teams in other sports create space and opportunities for their best players to succeed? And I think he's adapted some of that to hockey, and it was extremely successful for him until this year. And then it went all kaput. So you can see how that would be really tough for a guy like him, because it's worked so well for him, and then all of a sudden it's not working. It's like a pitcher who's throwing the same pitches, and all of a sudden the other teams are on top or have figured him out, or for whatever reason his guys aren't picking it up the same way. There's a lot of anticipation involved in Andrew Burnett's system. There's a lot of, I don't want to say gamble, but it's offense. If you have the puck, is the best defense. In other words, if you have the puck, the other team cannot score. And so let's press to play offense. And when we get the puck, let's move it. Let's move it to the space, and let's get into the offensive end. That's oversimplifying what it is, but it is a little different, even from the guy that hired him, Barry Trotz. George, you would know this. Barry Trotz is much more play from the defensive end out, right? Take care of your end. Nobody leaves the defensive zone until we have the puck, kind of thing. We're going to play the 200-foot game. I think Andrew Burnett is a little bit more, hey, that's great, but let's not have to defend for that long. Let's have the puck down at the other end. And some of the concepts were a little bit different. And I think everybody has to buy in for any system to work, right? But when you have some other guys who weren't, if there's 5 guys on the ice and one guy's doing it wrong, Kelly, you would agree in football, it just takes maybe one guy to run the wrong play and the play doesn't work, right? So if there's a guy a step slow or a guy is not trusting, and then all of a sudden one guy isn't in on it. So the guy next to him that knows what he's supposed to do says, well, this guy's not going to do it right. So now I have to be in the wrong. Now I'm going to try to make up for him. Now you have 2 guys out of position. Then there's a 3rd guy. I think there was a domino effect with that. But at the same time, to be so rigid that this is the way we're going to play and no other way, I think that was a little bit at the root of why they dug themselves such a big hole.
Billy, I'm sure you've got a question for Willie. I would probably ask that you keep it to sports.
Vandy. Here we
Vandy
go.
boys. Here we go.
Oh,
Here we go.
Willie, you got a big series coming up this weekend. Vandy has struggled over the last 3-4 years against the Vols, as we know. How big would this be psyche-wise for this team, but just the fan base? You saw last year they got a couple of wins, one in Hoover and then one in Game 3 of the one at Hawkins Field last year. But how big would it be getting a series win this weekend?
I think it would be big. George, you referenced it, and Billy, you're aware of it, right? I think it's one thing to have the expectation level that they have for Vanderbilt baseball, which is incredible. It's the highest you can have, which would have been crazy 30 years ago to think about this particular expectation level. But what's tough is when you go through a little bit of a dip like they have the last 2 or 3 years. And look, we would have killed to have a team when I was playing that you were disappointed that you just got into the NCAA tournament and lost in the regional. You know, that we would have killed to be in the regional. We never made the tournament. But that being said, it's doubly tough on the fans when it's Tennessee that's excelling so much at the same time that you're down a little bit. So I think this is the next opportunity to try to continue with what I think is the adaptation of the Tim Corbin formula. He knows that NIL's got to be part of the formula now. Dealing with transfers has to be part of the formula now. And I think they're moving in the right direction. I still don't know if I would say, and you guys can tell me if you disagree, that this is the most powerful team, that this is on par with the teams that were right there to win the national championship. I'm not sure this team's right there, but I've been impressed as the season's gone along, especially with their pitching staff, that from top to bottom, it's closer now to what it was when they had those premier guys, Rocker, Leiter, Gray, Minor. You can go, I don't know if they've got one as good as those guys, but they've got a really good pitching staff, which is the toughest thing to do when you go to Tennessee, because we know fly balls carry crazy there. And if you're off Tennessee with the power they have, they're going to hit 5-6 balls out of the park. There. That's why they're so intimidating. That's why it's so big to earn home field advantage in the postseason. And I think that's additionally why this series is important. Billy, if they can win this series, not only will it, you get the bragging rights and you start feeling like you can win the, the bragging rights back and forth between the two fan bases, but that might seal the chance to be a national seed, a top 8 seed where you can play at Hawkins Field for the postseason.
And if they're a national seed, I'm picking them to go to Omaha. I mean, the way they've played at home, we've seen them bow out at home before in the postseason, but it's been rare. So that's what Willie's talking about. Is these are really important series, especially Tennessee. If you go get them on the road, I mean, you got to be at home to make it to Omaha if you're Vandy.
Do you have questions for Willie off air?
Oh, I've got plenty.
Yes, I'm sure you do. I am sure you do. Willie, thank you so much. Yeah, I saw that. Very unprofessional.
Looking forward to these Monday afternoons, gentlemen.
Yeah. Elvis Gerback says hello.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
I'll fill you in later, Billy. That's
Okay.
my infamous moments for sure.
That's a name from the past right there.
Oh,
I thought he was
I've
playing
heard it.
quarterback
I've
for
heard it, I believe.
team. I had the wrong team.
yeah. I'll explain it later.
He played for
Talk to
several
you.
different teams. So I can't blame me.
Oh, no, we did blame you.
Yes.
Talk to you.
All right. See you guys.
Okay.
See
Good to talk to Willie anytime. So here's what we're going to do. We've had lively conversation. It's been about 95% about the Preds, but now I'm going to open the phone lines and you can take it anywhere you want to take it. I just want red-blooded Americans who want to talk some sports. 615-553-0933. Again, 615-553-0933. What other way, Billy?
I was just going to say, what if I want somebody to call in and say, George, what if I'm not a red-blooded American?
Then we're going to have to think twice. I mean, how do you
like
prove
it, Billy.
that you're a red-blooded American? Why'd you bring that up?
It was about time.
Yeah, you were attempting to cause trouble.
The peanut gallery.
Right. Okay, Marcia. So
chat room's open on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. You can chime in. We've got some comments rolling in throughout the show. There's a good one in regards to the Preds. We'll get to that, but keep them rolling, and we'd love to hear from you.
Okay, we'll go to the break. Hopefully your phone calls are in our future on 94.9 The Fan.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun. If you are paying too much for your health insurance, you know what? You need to contact the folks at Pancoast Benefits. Pancoast works with businesses and individuals to tackle the high cost of health insurance. Whether you're a business owner, large or small, self-employed, between jobs, or over the age of 65 and in need of a Medicare plan, Pancoast can help. They make understanding your benefits less difficult and more personal. So check them out today, pancoastbenefits.com, or call them at 615-292-3400.
Flat Rock Motor Club is a members-only driving resort combining a world-class racetrack with exquisite amenities. Located on 800 acres of pristine countryside in the heart of Tennessee, their elite 3.5-mile club track is surrounded by sweeping views of manicured rolling hills. The charm of Tennessee can be felt with every hill you climb. Whether your beverage of choice is sweet tea or whiskey, at their premier driving resort, you will experience a sophisticated blend of country elegance and southern hospitality. For more information, log on to flatrockmotorclub.com.
Paying too much for your health insurance, you know what? You need to contact the folks at Pancoast Benefits. Pancoast works with businesses and individuals to tackle the high cost of health insurance. Whether you're a business owner, large or small, self-employed, between jobs, or over the age of 65 and in need of a Medicare plan, Pancoast can help. They make understanding your benefits less difficult and more personal. So check them out today, PancoastBenefits.com or call them at 615-292-3400.
Hey, this is Andrew Allegret, voice of Vanderbilt baseball. Hope you can join us this weekend, a mega matchup from Knoxville. The Vandy boys, ranked number 11 versus the Vols. Our coverage on Friday starts at 4:15. All 3 games on 102.5 The Game.
Vanderbilt Athletics lives here on the Game Nashville Sports Network. It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Okay, blooded Americans on the line. Love it. Thank you. Appreciate it. Tony and Nolensville, get us started.
Good afternoon, guys, and a shout out for back at the studio on the bump music. Love Fleetwood Mac. They are had some good stuff they've got coming out of the break, George. I'm enjoying that.
I'm with you.
Willie, being he's going to be on each Monday, I think should show a little bit more respect for you and 94.9 The Fan and not have to wear that jacket at 102.5 The Game. I thought he might have had some Predator stuff on, but I'm just kidding about that. You and Willie go way back, yeah. And I've known Willie.
I won't tell him, though.
That's true. And back to days when Willie played at Vanderbilt, he was fun to watch over at Vanderbilt, both basketball and in baseball. So
he threw 70 in the 90s.
George wasn't he on the NIT championship team?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I thought Willie. Yeah, Willie was on that 1990 team. I thought he was. So, y'all have talked a lot about this Vandy Tennessee series, Billy and Kelly and George. I call it moving week. You've got the top-ranked Tuesday game at Louisville, and now you can separate yourselves from middle of the pack this coming weekend. And the thing about the SEC, and this has been a lot of teams this year, y'all have all seen it, it's an every other weekend. The teams are playing great at home and are getting swept or losing the series on the road. And that's just this weekend. They've got to, it'd be great if they could win the series, obviously. But as Billy, you've alluded to before, we just can't get swept. And that's happened a lot. You know, just this weekend, look what happened with Texas going to Arkansas. So that's out there. But if we could go up there and win the series, and who knows, maybe Tony Villa get thrown out of another game like he did again. George, maybe y'all know this. I don't know how many times he's already been thrown out of games since he's been in Knoxville 6 or 7 years. He's constantly combating the umpires, challenging them. He's got a lot of his players talking back to the umpires on strikeouts. And I would dare to say that he's been thrown out more times in his 7 years in Knoxville. I think it's 7, might be 8. And Tim Corbin, all of his 25 years, 22 years here at Vanderbilt. So I don't know. They also had a player to get thrown out for. They said it was fighting or arguing, but he got thrown out. And I think he's their top pitcher, and or one of them. He don't get to come back until probably on the second game this coming weekend. So just wanted to touch on that also.
Yeah.
The Mutter, the Kentucky Derby, what an unbelievable race, and glad no horses were injured in that. And it was a good, clean race. And once again, of course, a horse that led a lot of it all the way down the stretch did not make it, did not win the race. So there you go. Kelly? the other day you wasn't there, but I threw this out to Billy. I talked to him about a good little. There was some talk on Friday about the coast, Jekyll Island and Brunswick over on the coast of Georgia. And I did tell him that if he ever does tie that knot, that's a good little vacation spot over there on the islands over there on the coast of Georgia. So I thought you would have got a kick out of that. Knowing I'm trying to get him hooked up with that little lady friend of his. It's coming, I believe. Talk to you later, guys.
It's Tony.
Tony, Billy's not well rounded. We've got to help. I'm trying to help him, but he's not well rounded.
By the way,
he just stays in the Nashville metropolitan area.
By the way, of managers who have been ejected more than anybody, the great Bobby Cox.
Oh
yeah.
Right at the top of the list.
By the way, I did some research. Tony Vitello has been ejected 5 times. 2018 against Kentucky, 2021 against Vanderbilt, and then 2022 against Alabama, 23 against Missouri, and then against Auburn on Sunday.
Honestly, that's not a lot.
Really isn't that many.
Let's go to Mount Pleasant, Tennessee. Brandon, you are next.
Hey, Brandon from Mount Pleasant. I was just saying, I did not know that you were back on the radio, Mr. Plaster. I grew up listening to y'all and Kelly for that matter, and this is awesome.
Well, do me a favor and tell about 1,000 of your closest friends.
That's exactly what I'll do. Yeah, I remember listening to y'all. I just turned 44, but I was listening to y'all when I was in my 20s. Going to college, and I was like, oh my gosh, we love y'all.
Brandon,
I'm glad you guys are back on the radio.
Brandon, that is time you'll never get back listening to George.
When are y'all going to start some of your old things that you guys were doing before? Like I'm trying to think of one, like the underdog picks and some of the other things you're going. Are you guys going to start that back up again?
Brandon, you are late to the party. We've been doing it. Hey, that one went away. Trust me. Not only will Kelly and I battle this year in underdog picks, but we're bringing back the general.
Oh, awesome. Okay, awesome. Yeah, that's great.
Hey.
Anyway, I guess I could talk. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I guess I could talk some sports, but I'm really glad y'all are back on the radio. I hope you guys start your stuff back up again. But I was going to say, you guys are talking about the Tennessee and Vandy rivalry. I'm a huge Tennessee fan, and I like Vandy too. I mean, I can't say nothing. You know, as long as it's not Alabama or Florida, I do not mind Vandy at all. Y'all are, I mean, it seems like some people like we got hatred against each other. I don't really think so.
Well, I think in baseball there is. In football, obviously, they haven't won. In football, they haven't won enough. Basketball, back in the day, I mean, the last decade, there hasn't been a ton of winning on the Vandy side. I think, and even the last 3 years, Tennessee has owned Vandy in baseball. But I think overall, the Vitello, Corbin,
they're totally
dynamic,
opposite people.
Yeah, I mean, there's some hatred there.
They are. Okay, I got you. But anyway, I was just going to say, I'm glad to hear y'all back on the radio, and y'all doing a great job. And I grew up listening to y'all, so I'm tuned in now. My buddy told me y'all are back on the radio, so I'll be listening to you.
Brandon, spread the word. Call us again.
I will. Thank you. I'll see you.
Let me get Jerry, and I think it's in Hartsville, Tennessee, although I'm not certain of that. Jerry, is that right?
Yes, this is Jerry Richmond. How you doing, George?
Hey, Jerry. Good to hear from you.
How are you?
I'm great. Hope you're doing well.
I'm doing well. I went back and forth on the Vanderbilt, Alabama game yesterday. I was watching in the 8th and 9th inning. What a finish to a ball game it was.
Crazy.
Okay, I have a question for you. I occasionally find myself watching some SEC softball.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, there's one school in the SEC that doesn't play softball, Vanderbilt.
Right.
Might that change in the future?
I would have thought it would have changed by now, and I don't know what the reasoning is. I don't know if they don't have enough fields, if they're so landlocked on that campus. Billy, you got anything on it?
I would guess Title IX. It just doesn't line up for them to fit in a softball team. But also, I mean, you've also heard about, logistical, financial problems too. They are landlocked. You can't play in the same stadium as your baseball team plays. So that your point there could stand, George. They could just not have the space either.
Jerry, I don't really have a good answer, but my landlocked one may be close.
Yes, they would obviously have to play off campus somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean they've got those intramural field, but that's not enough space unless they wanted to do something with those.
Don't know.
There's really not a ton of space.
You've asked a question, we got no answer.
All right, I'll put you to work on that.
I'll do it. See ya.
George, thanks so much.
Hey, Jerry, good hearing from you.
Yes, sir. Good to hear from you.
Jerry Richmond has been a long time play-by-play voice in that area.
Trousdale County.
Yes, and some great football down there. After the break, we will hear from Kenny the Mailman. Kelly, you may find out how I got the nickname the Bob Costas of Belle Meade.
Oh, gosh. I'd love to hear that.
Okay, well, we might after the break. This is 94.9, The Fan.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2025 season. Create a summer of memories at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, and more. Tickets are on sale now.
This is my buddy Stan Harrison from Apple Collision Centers. Recently, you've been talking to me about companies that have a fleet of trucks and they're always in need of repairs.
That's right, George. We understand that nobody likes to deal with the auto body repair process. We try to simplify that at our 3 convenient locations. We work with all major insurance companies. We help to ease the stress of the auto body repair process. We're located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. If you need our services, please stop by and see us.
And how convenient that we have that in the background. Now, seriously, these are good folks. They do really good work. Give them a holler. Attention sports fans, the Middle Tennessee Sports Spectacular and Collectibles Expo is set for Friday, May the 16th through Sunday the 18th at the Farm Bureau Expo Center in Lebanon. Former Titans Javon Curse, Albert Hainsworth, and Joey Kent will all be there, and we'll broadcast our show on Friday the 16th. Parking is free, admission is $10, and I can't wait to meet all of you in Lebanon.
At Wilson Bank and Trust, we believe you shouldn't have to choose between personal service and digital solutions. As your local independent bank, we're proud to offer the relationships and trusted service you expect, along with the tools and technology that keep you moving forward. So whether you're growing a business, buying a home, or planning for the future, we're here to help. Because this isn't just where we work, it's where we live too. Wilson Bank and Trust, here to get you there. Member FDIC. Growing a business, buying a home, or planning for the future, we're here to help. Because this isn't just where we work, it's where we live too. Wilson Bank and Trust, here to get you there. Member FDIC.
A lot of people want to define teams by singular performances.
Sports. Did he not go back into the game after that interception?
Let's get this turned around. And we're all saying, no, they don't.
Here.
You thought you were on your way.
Your sports live here.
on ESPN 94.9.
And the Game Nashville Sports Network. It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
We are back. The man that dubbed me the Bob Costas of Belle Meade, even though it's not true, is on the line with us. Kenny the mailman, say hello.
Oh, it is true because you're well-rounded and call all the sports. As long as they pay you, you'll call it.
Thank you.
Listen, I've been wanting to talk to Kelly Holcomb since the draft, NFL draft. I gave it a few days to settle, but he knows Cleveland. He knows the quarterback position, and I think he's the best person to ask this. The whole thing is so nutty. You saw in the 5th round, Cleveland picked a quarterback, and they switched to the draft room. 2 or 3 of the people golf clapped. None of them was smiling. There was very little celebration at all. What you would think was a great steal of the draft is what we were told by the announcers. But go to the 3rd round. They picked a quarterback in the 3rd round. Do you know his name, George?
Dylan Gabriel?
Dylan Gabriel, yep.
What is the number one factor of Dylan Gabriel that none other quarterback had that was drafted this year?
He's from Hawaii.
No, the kid is left-handed. Unless a quarterback is great, how do you bring in 2 quarterbacks, a left-handed and a right-handed one? The footwork is totally different. Your tackles now are confused. The handoffs to the running backs are totally different. Kelly, why hadn't anyone said anything about that? And what do you think about if you bring in a left-handed quarterback, you better either be Boomer or Steve Young. So I'm going, what are they doing? I'll listen off there. It's good to talk to y'all. Bye-bye.
Same here, Kenny.
Kenny, you're pretty knowledgeable about that stuff. I'll be honest with you. George brought something up the other day. We all talked about it. I don't know, but I'm not sure that wasn't sent down from higher above in the league office.
This is the NFL. We need a favor. We need to shut this the hell up. So draft the guy and let's get it over with.
So draft him and let's get it over with, because I would not have said that when I was playing. I didn't think that stuff went on. But then a couple of years ago, I met with one of my coaches and he was telling me some political stuff that happened, and I shook my head. I couldn't believe that stuff went on, and that could have been what happened. The decision was made that, hey, he's fallen far enough. We're going to buck up and we're going to just fix this and we're going to draft him, and you go with it where you want to. I don't know, Kenny. That's a good question, because if you do have a left-handed quarterback, I mean, it's totally different. Now the right tackle is the guy that is fielding his blind side. So, yeah, you've got a point. I don't know. Like Cleveland, even when I was there, they can't get right for some reason. I love that place and I love that town, and those fans deserve more than what they've gotten since they've been back. They just, for some reason, you look, and I always say this, you look at the consistency of the Pittsburgh Steelers. They've had Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and Mike Tomlin. You can't even name all the coaches since Butch Davis left when I was there. You can't even name them because there's no consistency in the organization. And if you look at what's happening with the Titans, it's kind of the same deal. You've got to stick with something, and that's why I kind of marveled at what Willie talked about with Barry Trotz. Barry Trotz is kind of going away from professional sports, whatever everybody's doing nowadays, with just like it's you're the flavor of the moment. And when you're the flavor of the moment, if you don't work and they get somebody else, well, he's sticking with his guy Andrew Burnett. But Cleveland has not done that. They can't get their organization is in turmoil all the time. They turn it over. Kevin Stefanski was a guy when I was with the Minnesota Vikings. He was a quality control guy, or he was the director of football ops, I think. But he went from the director of football ops, and then he started being he started getting into coaching, and then he was an offensive coordinator. His dad's pretty high up, and I don't know what they're doing, Kenny. I really don't. I don't understand it. I think that may have happened. But if you look at if you look at Shador, I like Shador. There's different opinions on him, but the Mel Kiper of the world, he got mad about it. He took that personal. I don't know if he should have fallen that far, but I'm not sure of what kind of player he is. I thought he was okay in college. But it's totally different in the National Football League. And then they drafted Dylan Gabriel, and he's a left-handed kid. So it totally changes. And, obviously they're going to let those guys battle it out. I don't even know if Shador Sanders makes the team. Like, that'll be one of the deals. Like, that's going to be the big news story going into next year. Is he going to make the team? So there's a lot of question marks that I always ask with the Cleveland Browns. First of all, why did you decide to pay Deshaun Watson all that kind of money? And he doesn't even want to play football anymore. You can tell it in his eyes. He cares nothing about playing football anymore. And I think the team feels that. I think the community feels that. And I don't know. I love Cleveland. I wish I hope they have some success, but man, they just, for some reason, they can't get right, Kenny. I'm sorry.
Okay, we got to go to the break. Plaster bet of the day, and maybe some Vandy softball explanations when we come back on 94.9 The Fan.
Looking for your favorite sports?
How about sports? You follow sports?
We probably have it. Just log on to the Information Superhighway. They don't call it that anymore?
To start, press any key. Where's the any key?
Head to theGameNashville.com.
The password, we're in.
You'll find what time your game starts and what station it's on.
Oh, they have the internet on computers now.
That's what's up. Your sports live here.
What an age we live in.
On the Game Nashville Sports Network.
Family Leisure invites you to vacation at home with a new spa, pool, patio furniture, or wood play gym this summer.
I really want a spa.
40 spas on display from Artesian, Best Spas, and American Select.
Prices starting as low as $29.99.
Family Leisure has over 100 sets of patio furniture with free delivery.
That sounds good to me, too.
We should really look at the wood play gyms for the kids. Family Leisure has the Diamond Point swing set on sale at only $24.99 installed. Family Leisure's vacation at home sale in Franklin and Antioch.
This Mother's Day, give her something that makes life a little easier and her favorite moments even better. Whether she's the family chef, the go-to host, or the queen of cozy movie nights, you'll find a gift she'll love at Electronic Express, from small appliances for quick weeknight meals, to outdoor essentials for effortless entertaining, to smart TVs for the ultimate binge watch session. We've got that. Shop Mother's Day gifts that turn moments into memories, in store or at electronicexpress.com.
It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
All right, some Vandy softball clarification from some commenters. One texter says this was looked at about 25 years ago, and it was determined that Capers Field at Blakemore and Natchez Trace was suitable, but the money was too high. Bowling was eventually chosen. And then Tony Beniza says David Williams and I had a conversation, and he said Vandy is just landlocked, not Title IX. So for everyone clamoring for the softball Vandy explanation, there it is.
Not likely to happen.
No. Also got some NBA tonight. Big games. Knicks Celtics game 1 at 6. Nuggets Thunder game 1 as well in the West at 8:30 in the NHL. Game 1 Panthers Maple Leafs in Toronto. So got some action for Bet of the Day, brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. We take a look at what happened Friday night. St. Louis got the win. So George 1-0 weekend. But we got to see what happens tonight.
Here come more victories. I'm taking the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight at home against Florida. This is big stuff for Toronto, man. They are pumped.
Fired up.
They want this team to win it all. Who's to say they won't? I think they'll win tonight because of that home crowd. I'm also taking OKC. I don't think there's any way Denver gets their head out of the clouds this quickly. OKC is loaded. Denver will have to play like they did 2 nights ago when they knocked off whoever it was, the Clippers. That's who they knocked off. Tomorrow on the show, Tony Basilio from Knoxville. We'll get his opinions on Nick Saban and President Trump meeting. And Jeff Him, play-by-play voice of the Sounds, at 4 o'clock. Until then, for Kelly Holcomb and young William, George Plaster, good night, everybody.